The internet, privacy and survival of the paranoid. Now, we both know that the internet is arguably one of the greatest inventions ever. With the internet, we can buy things online, sell things online, we can upload images, share them with our friends, apply for jobs. We can practically do anything online. But despite all these good things, the internet has also brought some bad things as well, and namely the loss of our privacy. Right now, it's so easy for total strangers to find out so much information about us, not to mention third party companies like advertisers who can practically track every single move we make online. And that's why in this section, we're going to cover very deeply how we are tracked online, how these companies track us. I will show you the tricks they employ, but more importantly, I will show you how you can fight back and how you can take back your privacy. So let's get started.
The actual lectures in this particular section, I need to explain to you some key concepts and some key terminologies which we're going to be using throughout the duration of this particular section. And we're talking about privacy, anonymity, and pseudonymity. All right, it's very, very important that you understand what these three concepts are. Now, privacy, what exactly is privacy? Well, this is the ability to protect valuable and sensitive information. Medical records, credit card information, things like that. But it also ensures that your personal information is collected, processed, used, and destroyed in a legal and fair manner. So privacy is not just about making sure that no one can have access to your records. It could also mean that you're actually allowing some organization like a hospital, for example, to have access to your medical records, but in return, you expect them to not share your medical records with third parties, and whatever they use your information for, they use it in a legal and fair manner. So that's a deeper explanation of what privacy actually is. Anonymity, on the other hand, is basically keeping a user's identity hidden. People do things online, but we don't know who they are. That's basically what anonymity is, being anonymous. So actions carried out cannot be tracked back to the user. This would be the ideal conditions of anonymity, where you do things and no one can trace those actions back to you. This is obviously a hacker's dream. Hackers do all sorts of malicious things online. So if they can remain anonymous, well, that is exactly what they strive for. However, these can never be guaranteed. It doesn't matter what systems the user is on or how good the user is, you can never guarantee anonymity 100%. There is technically always a way how someone's actions can be traced back to that particular person. Now, pseudonymity is the near anonymous state where a user has a consistent identifier that is not their real name, basically a pseudonym. That's what pseudonymity is. So in such systems, the real identities are available to administrators. A classic example would be like the hookup sites. So, you have lots of users who go in there and create usernames like Big John 69. Big John 69 is going to belong to some person out there, but obviously Big John 69 is not his real name, that's his pseudonym. However, here's the thing. When Big John signed up to this particular hookup or dating site with the name Big John 69, he had to reveal some real information about himself. So maybe he would have had to maybe use his real email address or something like that. So the actual real identities of such users are known to the system administrators of such systems. People who own such systems will still have access to the real identities of such individuals. Now, there's a very special concept here, which is the pseudo-anonymity, okay? Now, this one is the appearance, but not the reality of anonymity online. What am I talking about? Basically, it enables anonymous posting without the need for an identifier, a pseudonym. So, such a system would allow anyone to come in at any time, leave a comment without having to use either the real name or even a pseudonym. It's a completely blank way of just making comments and performing actions online. However, like I said earlier, anonymity can never be truly guaranteed because users can still be traced through IP addresses and are generally required to provide some sort of ID whenever they sign up to such systems. So really, at the end of the day, you can never guarantee anonymity 100%. So that's it. Hopefully you now understand what privacy is, what anonymity is, what pseudonymity is, and also pseudonymity as well. I always find it confusing between pseudonymity and pseudo-anonymity. I'm always kind of confused whenever I talk about those two things. Anyway, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next class. Interesting topic that I personally feel people don't talk enough about, and that is our online identity or identities. Now, why is this important? Well, Chris Betcher, who is a very popular educator, said that in the future, your digital footprint will carry far more weight than anything you put on a resume. And this is absolutely true. So there are key questions we need to ask ourselves today, right now. What do we do online? What kinds of sites do we visit? Can our actions today affect us in the future? Who do we follow? What do we like on social media? So a post that we write today and then we post it on Facebook, it could potentially affect our chances of being elected into office or getting a job 6 months from now or a year from now, because we have our digital footprint. So it's very, very important that we think twice about the kinds of things we write on Facebook, on social media, the kinds of people we follow, the kinds of pages we like. It is crucial because further down the line, we never know what might happen tomorrow. We might want to get a job in a particular company that we may have written something about negatively in the past, or we may want to run for political office or things like that. So it is very, very, very important that we adopt real strategies to protect us whenever we go online. Now, from my experience, we generally tend to have two personalities. Most people tend to have two personalities online. We have one that's professional, and then there's one that is the more personal kind of profile online. And I want to show you an actual example. Take a look at my two pictures right here. On the left, you can see me. That's my Facebook profile picture. I'm holding a glass of red wine, I'm smiling, and you can see I'm wearing a t-shirt that's showing all my muscles. And then to the right, you can see my LinkedIn profile picture. That's me right there with my white, well-pressed long sleeve shirt, and then my black tie, my watch, and I'm looking all very serious and, formal. So most of us tend to have these two different kinds of personalities. One that's for the LinkedIn, and then the other one that's for actual Facebook or Twitter or what have you. But with that being said, it is very important that we adopt real strategies to protect us online. And I have identified 5 main types of strategies. Everyone on the internet adopts at least one of these kinds of strategies. We have the open strategy, avoidance, persona, compartmentalization, and then finally the selective or the custom strategy. So what exactly are these different kinds of strategy? Well, the very first one is the open strategy. It is the most authentic kind of strategy that you can employ. And by authentic, I mean you are real. You're basically honest. You write about the things you want to write about. You like those who you like. You really don't care about what anyone says about you. So if you're a liberal, for example, you write about your liberal views on Facebook, and you do the exact same thing on LinkedIn as well. You're as authentic, you're as real as they come. Now, while this may be good for you because you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to lie about, it also leaves you vulnerable as well. Because again, if, for example, you were liberal and on Facebook you wrote something very negative about those who are conservative, further down the line, you might want to get a job at a company whose CEO or whose HR manager is a conservative. And if they trace these things that you've written online about those who are conservative, then you could be denied the job. So while you're real and authentic, it could leave you very, very vulnerable. So open strategy may not be the best strategy for us. The second one is the avoidance strategy. Now, this one is the extreme. Basically, you're not on social media. You don't have a LinkedIn account. You don't have a Facebook account. You're not on Twitter. You're not on Pinterest, on Instagram. You basically have a blank profile on any social media platform. You don't exist. The obvious advantage here is that no one can say anything about you. No one can hold you accountable to anything that you've written or talked about in the past. The obvious disadvantage here is that it deprives you of any possible benefits that you might have had for being online. So you miss out on all the information, the promos, advertisements, and if you have like a business, then you miss out on all the obvious benefits of having a social media presence. So avoidance strategy is not the best, but believe me, there are lots of people who adopt this strategy and it seems to work for them. The next one here is the persona strategy. Now, this is the vulnerable fake personality, and it's very common with journalists and politicians. Now, what am I talking about here? Basically, this kind of strategy is you create a certain kind of profile that has a set of beliefs, and you never deviate from those beliefs. So, for example, you might be 80% conservative, 20% liberal. But then because you're a journalist in a company that is heavily liberal, you might be forced to create this kind of persona online where everything you believe in is liberal. You 100% of the time you disagree with conservatives. And like I said, this is very, very common with journalists, especially in the US, where a majority of the media companies are liberal. A lot of journalists might actually have conservative views on certain kinds of topics, but because of the companies they work for, they are forced to always go in the same direction, to always voice the same kind of opinion, basically. So that's a very, very, very common kind of strategy adopted by journalists and, of course, politicians. Obviously, politicians will always adopt whatever kind of strategy that can help them get elected. So the persona strategy is not the best because no matter the kind of persona you create, you're always going to have enemies. So if you're 100% conservative, you're going to have liberals who will not like you. If you're 100% liberal, you're going to have conservatives who will not like you. There is another strategy, which is now the compartmentalization strategy, where you basically adopt different kinds of personas for different kinds of platforms. So on Facebook, you're basically you're being honest, you say whatever you want to say on Facebook, but then on LinkedIn, for example, you always come across as a conservative or a liberal. So this could work to a certain extent, but if anyone does a proper research or investigation on you, they will discover that, hey, you're kind of like a hypocrite. You say some things on one platform, and then in another platform, you say the exact opposite. So it's not the best. Now, the recommended strategy, which I'll recommend for you today, is the selective or the custom strategy, where you basically adopt different kinds of strategies based on different kinds of platforms. So basically, for example, on Facebook, you could be you. You could post the things that you want to post, things that are safe. You shy away from controversial topics. So you withhold your opinions on things like abortion, gun rights. You keep those to yourself. You don't talk about them online. On Facebook, you post pictures of your trip to Brazil or what you ate yesterday. Fine. On LinkedIn, for example, right now, you post everything that's related to your actual work. Again, you shy away, you stay away from controversial topics on LinkedIn. And then if you want to find a means of actually voicing your opinion on very controversial topics, you can create a pseudonym for yourself. And then you can go on popular platforms like Reddit, for example, where you don't have to use your real name. You can sign up with some sort of alias, and then you can write whatever it is that you want to write about. So this is basically the best kind of strategy that you can adopt. On platforms where you have to show your face, do not talk about controversial topics, keep them to yourself. On other platforms where you can hide behind a pseudonym, like on Reddit, for example, feel free to voice your opinion and talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. Remember that the internet never forgets. The internet never forgets. And there have been so many examples of celebrities, politicians, sports people, sportsmen and women, who many years ago they said something about one particular person, and then 5 years later, what they tweeted about or what they posted on Facebook is now revealed and it's controversial. So again, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. You might have an opinion on a certain topic and you may actually be right. But no matter how right you are, you will always have those who will be against you. And you don't know where you're going to meet those people in the future. You don't know if you will need their help. So really, at the end of the day, I personally feel that it's always best that you think twice about the things you post online, the people you like, the pages you follow. Think twice before you do those kind of things. And I really want to get your own opinion about this very important topic. If you feel like, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next class. There's something online, let's say a vacation to Bangkok. It is not unusual to see adverts for cheap flights and hotel deals in Bangkok on every site that you visit thereafter for the next few days. Now, few of us understand what's actually happening behind the scenes for these ads to be served. Online advertising has been there since the early days of the internet, but it has grown far more sophisticated in recent years. The ads we see now are often the product of digital stalking as companies try to track our every browsing move. But how does this happen in the first place? You see, when you look at a web page, there is content visible to you, but there is also invisible content or technology purely for the purpose of tracking what you are doing. What this technology is really good at doing is following you from site to site, tracking your actions, and compiling them into a database. It knows when you come back, and it knows to look you up, and based on what it has profiled about you in the past, it will treat you accordingly and decide which advertisements to give to you. Now, we know that companies are collecting data about us, but there's very little transparency in terms of the techniques they use, and there are a lot of misconceptions. We don't really know exactly what data they're collecting or what they might use it for. Now, the information that's most useful for them would be to collect our browsing history and our search history. And of course, this data is collected, analyzed, and then used to target us with relevant ads. But it can also be used in other ways. Now, in some cases, research has shown that data may even be used to tailor prices. Sometimes prices for the same product being slightly different. Sometimes it's different products with different price ranges being pushed to the consumer. Now, for example, back in 2012, it was discovered that the travel website Orbitz was showing Mac users pricier hotel options than PC users. The assumption being here that Mac users had more money than PC users. Now, later in the Wall Street Journal reported that the Staples website was tracking visitors' locations and only applying price discounts if there was a competitor store within 20 miles of them. So at the end of the day, the big question right now is, how are they actually tracking us? Well, it turns out that every device behaves in a different way when the code on the web page interacts with it, in a manner that's completely invisible to the user, and this can be used to derive a fingerprint of the device. So the third parties can tell when the same user of the same device is visiting again. This technique is known as canvas fingerprinting. When one of these scripts is running on a website you visit, it will instruct your browser to draw an invisible image. Now, because every device does it in a unique way, it can be used to assign a number to your machine and effectively track your browsing. Now, there is also a process called cookie syncing, which allows the entities that are tracking you online to share the information they've discovered about you and link together the IDs they've created to identify your device. Now, they can compare notes and build a better profile of you, and all this is done without your knowledge or input. There are even ways to associate two different devices belonging to the same user. Now, companies can establish that they are owned by the same person even without attaching your name to them. So let's say, for example, you have a laptop and a smartphone and you are traveling with them and you're browsing through the web using maybe the local Wi-Fi. Now, the advertiser or the company notices that there are two particular devices that always connect to the website from the same network. Now, the chance of this happening coincidentally is similar to the chance of two people having the same travel itinerary. So after a period of time, if it keeps happening, they can deduce that, oh, it's the same person that owns these two different devices. Now they can put your browsing behavior on one device together with your browsing behavior on the other device and use it to build a deeper profile. Now, of course, we're often told by these companies that they are only collecting anonymized data, which means that the data they collect cannot be traced to one particular person. But we all know this is a lie. If it's gotten to the point where companies can begin offering special prices based on a customer's location and even the device they use, then there is really nothing anonymous about the data they collect about us whenever we're browsing now, is there? So at the end of the day, we cannot trust any one of these companies, and we owe it to ourselves to take the proper steps to ensure that our privacy is secured and ensured whenever we are browsing on the internet. So I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. Now let's continue with the course. Well, hello and welcome to this very special video, which I wasn't planning on making, but something happened a few days ago and I just have to talk about this. Now, I know the format of this video is a bit different. You can actually see me in the video, but that's because I wanted this to be as relaxed and as informal as possible. I want you to feel like you're in the same room with me and I'm talking to you one-on-one. So I am filming this in my apartment, so do forgive me if the lighting is not so good. Also, you might hear some background noise. That's because it's Saturday, the neighbors are around, kids are playing everywhere, so do forgive me if you hear some background noise. All right, so what is this scandal? What happened that I'm so eager to talk about? Well, it turns out that a few days ago, it was revealed that 50 million Facebook profiles were harvested for Cambridge Analytica. Cambridge Analytica is a major data collection firm. They collect data, that's what they do. Now, the term harvested or harvest, what this means is data is collected from users of a particular app or social media site like Facebook. That data is then analyzed and processed. The end result is a profile. Now, that profile of that individual can be used to determine what that individual would likely buy in the future, if they're likely to take a financial loan, the kind of courses they're likely to support, the kinds of politicians they're likely to vote for as well. That's basically what harvesting is. Now, this fellow over here, the guy with the pink hair, he recently came out and said, look, I used to work for Cambridge and we collected data illegally from tens of millions of Facebook users in America. And that data was used by the Donald Trump campaign during the election. That's where the whole big scandal is from. So how exactly did this happen? Well, it says over here that Cambridge obtained voter data through a Facebook linked app named This Is Your Digital Life. Through the app, one of the members of Cambridge, Alexander Kogan, he paid Facebook users in exchange for a detailed personality test, supposedly for academic research purposes. Now, here's the thing. Facebook is fighting back. Facebook are claiming that, look, this wasn't a major data breach. It wasn't a data breach. It's not like hackers somehow gained access to Facebook servers and were able to get information and data on its users. No, that's not what happened. Facebook actually willingly allowed Cambridge to collect the data because Cambridge claimed that the data was going to be used for academic research purposes. Now, Facebook would actually allow any third party to collect data from Facebook users as long as that data is used only for academic purposes. The data is not meant to be transferred. It's not meant to be sold. It's not meant to be sold to advertising companies, and it's certainly not meant to be used for political purposes, right? So that's where Facebook are fighting about. Facebook are saying, look, this wasn't a major data breach. We willingly allowed Cambridge to collect the data. But here's the thing. But the app also pulled personal data from all of the test takers' linked Facebook friends without their consent. So that's where the real issue is right now. It's not because Facebook allowed Cambridge to collect data in the first place, but because Cambridge were able to collect additional data which the participants of those quizzes did not provide in the first place. That's where the real issue is. The fact that a third party could come on Facebook and say, hey, this app is a personality quiz test. Please take the quiz. The results are meant for academic purposes, and that's it. We're not going to collect any more data from you. The fact that such third parties can actually collect data which the participants did not provide in the first place behind their backs shows you just how unsecure Facebook really is. And this is where the real issue is right now. The fact that you have third parties who can collect data from Facebook users without users even knowing in the first place. And look, the only reason why we're talking about this is because this guy, once again, this guy came out and said so. He was the one who said everything. He said, look, this is what happened. We got data from all these users and they didn't even know about it. If this fellow did not come out and say anything, we would not know. We would not be having this conversation right now. We would not know. And that's a very, very scary thought, because right now you have to think to yourself, how many times has something like this happened before? How many times have third parties put up apps on Facebook? Facebook users have used those apps, and then those third parties have collected additional data from those users without even Facebook realizing or even knowing. And who knows what that data has been used for? Maybe it's been sold. Maybe they used it for some political campaigns, or who knows? There is a advice from this site, Tech Radar. Over here it says, don't trust third-party personality quizzes. So from now on, please, whenever you see such quizzes or tests on Facebook, don't take them. Do not take them. And I'm pretty sure you might have seen a few of them before, where they will say things like, oh, take this quiz, take this personality test, and you will find out, who you're supposed to date or what's, stuff like that. Don't take such tests anymore, because Facebook cannot protect you from that third party or that app collecting additional data from you. That's just a fact. So right now, the Senate in America are really pissed. They want to grill Mark Zuckerberg over the scandal, and I think he's been summoned by the Senate. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. But of course, Mark Zuckerberg has apologized. He's apologized for the mistakes. But the truth is, Facebook really needs to do a better job of protecting the privacy of its users. And the truth is, we can't really trust Facebook. Who knows? No one really knows what Facebook actually does with the data that they collect from its users. Nobody really knows. So Mark Zuckerberg can come out and apologize for all he wants. You can probably hear an airplane flying over. Again, I'm sorry about this. I'm actually close to an airport, so do forgive me. But again, the point here is this. We can't really trust Mark Zuckerberg. You can't trust Facebook. So bottom line here is, be careful with what you post online. Take due diligence. Don't take personality tests anymore. Be careful about the kind of information you give away on social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, what have you. Be very, very, very careful. So that's it. I'm going to post these links and the resources so you can read more on this particular topic. And I would encourage you to follow what happens with this scandal. Maybe the Senate might bring out some new regulations. Maybe Facebook might be forced to change its policy. Who knows? We'll see what happens. So thank you so much for staying with me and for hopefully enjoying this special lecture. Thank you so much. And as always, I will see you in the next class. Maybe you casually check your emails or you browse through your social media feeds or your favorite websites. The chances are you are being tracked in some way. Whether it's advertisers logging in your user habits and creating a profile of you, or whether it's Big Brother potentially snooping in on your emails, We are all at risk of being tracked online, and in this video, I'm going to show you the top 5 places you are likely to be tracked on a daily basis. The number one spot on this list is obviously going to be our social media accounts. Now, social media tracking is perhaps one of the most treasured methods utilized by advertisers. Now, through social media, we tend to give a very detailed profile of our user habits, our likes, our hobbies, and a lot more. It's basically a gold mine of information just waiting to be tapped by third-party advertisers. Now, Facebook will take your information and pass it along to Facebook advertisers who can then tailor ads to suit your interests. Twitter isn't any better. Last year, they announced that they would collect information on all other apps a user has downloaded onto their phone to help improve targeted advertising. Now, if you think you're safe on Instagram, well, think again. The popular app geotags your images every single time you upload a photo, even if you did not use the name this location feature. Search engines are essential for us to find what we're looking for online, but unfortunately, they can also be used to track our activity. Now, Google in particular will tailor their ads to suit your interests based on your search history. And Google is constantly trying to build a consumer profile of you and will even filter their search results for you based on your past search history. Yahoo and Bing are not that different either. They tend to plant cookies on your computer to store your information and remember your location. Now, did you know that you can be tracked by companies whenever you open an email? You see, by merely clicking to open that email, you are relaying to the sender not only that you've opened it, but also where you were and on what device you used. Now, this technology has been used by marketers and advertisers for many years, but also by fraudsters, unfortunately. Your favorite websites may be tracking you more than you think. Now, these websites tend to use cookies to store your information alongside directing remarketing ads to you whenever you visit other websites. Now, when you visit such websites, you're also potentially sharing extra data, such as your IP address, which can reveal your location. Now, last but not least would be your downloaded apps. Now, the apps you install on your phone can be used to profile you on social media sites such as Twitter. Also, the apps you've downloaded may be tracking your location without your knowledge by using your phone's GPS. So it's important to keep tabs on which apps have access to such sensitive information. Now I'm going to give you 5 quick tips to make it really hard for companies to track you online. And the very first tip here would be to make use of a reliable VPN. Virtual private networks are fantastic for ensuring your privacy whenever you browse the internet. Second would be to exercise some caution whenever you receive a suspicious email. Think twice before you open that email or click on any of the links in such suspicious emails. Third would be to clear your search engine browsing cache as frequently as you can. Remember that every single browser you use will keep track of your browsing history, and that can be used to track you. Fourth would be to adjust your privacy settings on your social media accounts and apps to help protect your privacy. And finally, adjust your location services on your mobile device by disabling GPS tracking. Incognito, and I'm pretty sure you must have browsed incognito at least once before. Every single browser has a way of going incognito. Basically, the whole idea behind going incognito is that you launch a private window where your searches, your cookies, and so on will not be stored by the browser. So as an example, on Chrome, to go incognito, you use Ctrl-Shift and N. For Firefox, it's Ctrl-Shift and P. Now, it's very important that we understand what exactly isn't stored by your browser whenever you go incognito. Your searches, your history, and your cookies. These are the 3 main things that your browser will not store when you go incognito. But there is this huge misconception around that whenever you go incognito, then you are completely private. That is not exactly true, because there are 2 things that are actually stored and recorded even when you go incognito. And that would be your bookmarks and your downloads. These two things are tracked and they're monitored and they're recorded whenever you go incognito. So it's very, very important that you are careful with what you bookmark and with what you download, even when you have gone incognito. Also, it is important to realize that your employer at your place of work and your ISP can still recognize you even when you go incognito. As an example now, routers and remote servers are unaffected by your browsing mode. Routers don't care that you've gone incognito. They recognize your IP address. They're able to keep track of whatever it is that you're doing online, regardless of your browsing mode. So searches for illegal downloads can be monitored. It is very, very important to keep that at the back of your mind. Don't think because you've gone incognito, your ISP will not be able to track you. They will still be able to track you. So be careful. And then, of course, the employer I. You might be at your place of work. Maybe it's illegal for you to use YouTube or stuff like that, and you go ahead, you launch an incognito window, and you think to yourself, oh, my employer will never know that I'm on YouTube. Think twice. Think twice. Your employer, especially if they're using equipment that they've paid for, they can monitor exactly what you're doing on your computer. So don't think you can fool them. Also, websites and apps can still recognize you even when you go incognito. As an example, sites with login requirements, like social media sites like Facebook and even maybe Amazon. Now, your browser would not know that you've gone to Facebook or Amazon, but Facebook and Amazon would know because you had to log in. So they will be able to keep track of whatever it is that you're doing, even though you've gone incognito. Apps like keyloggers and security software can still track you and monitor you even when you've gone incognito. And finally, very important, certain browser extensions have been known to keep track of whatever it is that you're doing even when you go incognito. Ideally, because these extensions are part of your browser, they are not supposed to be active when you go incognito. But Firefox in particular, some extensions have been known to still be active even when you've gone incognito. So do be careful about what it is that you do when you go incognito. You're not completely private. Yes, your searches and your cookies will not be stored, but you can still be tracked and monitored. So I hope you now have a better understanding of what it means to go incognito. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next class. Brave before? Well, if you haven't, don't feel too bad. I only heard about the browser myself a few months ago. Now, just like DuckDuckGo, this is a browser that promises to respect your privacy, and I gotta admit, this browser actually does a very good job of blocking ads and trackers, and you feel more secure and you feel like your privacy is actually being enforced whenever you use Brave. Now, Brave is free. All you gotta do is to go to brave.com, click on the download button right here, and you will find the version that suits your operating system. So they have two versions for Windows, if it's an x64 or 32-bit. They've got the Mac OS version, and of course, if you're a Linux user, you will find a version that suits you. So Brave really does a good job of blocking ads, and it actually shows you right here real data as to why this browser is actually faster than Chrome and Safari. I still think Firefox is maybe slightly faster than Brave, but I haven't tested that. But you can see right now the browser promises to be faster than Chrome and Safari, and also tells you why it saves you money because it blocks download ads and trackers and things like that. And also, best of all, is that, and I'll show you this very, very soon, it can actually show you how much time it's saved for you, how many trackers it's blocked, how many ads it's blocked, and how many HTTPS upgrades it's done during the time you've been using the particular browser. So don't waste any time. Go ahead, download the browser and start using it. Once you've installed it, you will see the lion head. That's the icon right there. Just click in there. And as an example, I have gone to csoonline.com. Now, two things to pay attention to. First of all, at the right here, you will see 2.24 seconds. This is how much time it took for the browser to load this site. But then you'd also see right there on the lion's head, you will see 13. You click on the lion's head. That 13 represents the number of trackers and ads that have been blocked on this particular site, which is really, really awesome. It will also tell you if there have been any HTTPS upgrades. Now, what this means, the HTTPS upgrade, is that if there are any unsecure connections, the browser would actually make that connection secure. So the good thing about CSO Online is that just about every connection here is secure. That's why we haven't had any upgrades to HTTPS. That's why. But it will also show you number of scripts blocked and fingerprinting methods blocked as well, if any. But the one really cool feature about Brave is that for every individual site, you can actually control whether or not you want to display ads, if you want to allow ads and tracking, and then cookies as well. You can choose to block only third-party cookies, block all cookies, or you can allow all cookies. Same thing with fingerprint protection as well. So it's really, really cool that you can actually do this for every individual site that you visit. Let's jump down here to goal.com. And oh boy, take a look at that. 31 ads and trackers blocked, 3 HTTPS upgrades. And finally, let's go to Hacker News. So we have 15 ads and trackers blocked, and so on and so forth. Now, if I open up a new tab, now, no, this is a fresh, clean installation of the browser. So I've only used the browser for about an hour right now. And as you can see right now, so far, it's blocked 24 trackers. It's blocked 89 ads. There have been 6 HTTPS upgrades, and it saved me 6 seconds. So this is a browser like no other. I don't know of any other browser that does stuff like this. So I haven't really used Brave for too long now. It's only been a few months, or a couple of months, but I'm really, really starting to enjoy using this browser. It's very fast, and it also does a very good job of protecting your privacy, far, far, far better than Chrome or Firefox or Safari or whatever browser you use. So I highly encourage you to take a look at Brave today. Tell your friends, tell your family members, start using Brave. I think this is actually a very good browser you can use to ensure your privacy. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next class. A very interesting post from Imgor, and it's basically a post on how to disappear online. And it basically highlights you 9 different ways how you can completely disappear from the internet. Now, I have to be honest with you, I don't think it's possible for you to completely disappear online. I still believe that there are still ways how people can still trace you, maybe not trace you, but they can still dig up things that you've done online before. I don't think you can ever completely clean out your digital footprint. I don't think it's possible. However, the reason why I'm sharing this particular post with you is because there are some actual very useful tips that you can do to make it really, really hard for anyone to uncover or trace you online. So let me show you the actual article. So the very first step here would be step 1, which is to deactivate primary accounts. So you go on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, and then you basically deactivate your accounts on such sites. The second one here would be to search for yourself. So basically you go on every major search engine out there, whether it's Bing, Google, Yahoo, Yandex, Baidu, and you search for yourself and you basically try to delete any information that you may find about yourself over there. Step 3 would be to falsify accounts that you cannot delete. So if for some reason there are certain sites that don't allow you to delete their account, you can go in there and falsify the data that you have there. So change your sex, change your name, change your address, change your phone number, create like a fake profile on such sites. Step 4 will be to unsubscribe from mailing lists. So go through the mails that you get from marketers and gurus of certain subjects whose emails you never read and unsubscribe from them. That's basically another step that you can take. Step 5 will be to delete your search engine results. And Google does have a URL removal tool to help you with this process. So you can basically go in there, submit a particular URL that you want Google to delete, and they will do so for you. Step 6 would be to contact webmasters over websites that you have no control over. Now, of course, this is, they say things like be polite, be patient. There is no guarantee that the webmasters would listen to you or help you out. But step 7 here would be to consider data clearing houses. So there are companies that track your online behavior, and we know there's companies like Intelios, Spokeo, People Finders. So to delete your information from such sites, well, over here you have the guideline: make an absurd amount of phone calls, fill out a metric ton of paperwork, use a fax machine, consider a paid service such as Delete Me to do all of the leg work. So again, there is no guarantee that this would work, but if you're really, really serious about deleting your digital footprint for some reason, then these are worth giving a shot. Step 8 would be to check in with your phone company and make sure that your provider has you on listed. And then step 9 would be to delete your email. That would be basically the last step that you can take. So again, I don't think it's possible to really be able to disappear completely on a line, but you can do some of these things to make it really, really hard for people to trace you and uncover what it is that you may have said or done in the past. So this is an article worth taking a look at. So I will share the article and the resources. So if you want to read more about this article, you'll find the link in the resources. So thank you for watching. I will see you in the next class. An application known as stylometry. Now, over here on Wikipedia, it says that it's often used to attribute authorship to anonymous or disputed documents. Sounds very simple, right? But my friend, in reality, stylometry is a lot scarier than this. Stylometry actually has the capability to determine whether or not an anonymous document may or may not have been written by you. So let's say, for example, I, as a regular individual, I have my blog over here. I write different kinds of articles, right, with my name attached to the articles. But then let's say at night, I decide to go to Reddit. I sign in with my pseudonym. My name on Reddit is John Doe 69, and I start writing all sorts of articles, very, very controversial articles. It turns out that stylometry can determine to an 80% accuracy that I might have actually written all these controversial articles on Reddit. And the way it does this is this. If stylometry has access to some of my documents here on my blog, it needs about 5,000 to 6,000 words. And what it does with all that data is it analyzes my writing style, my grammar, and then it will basically create a profile, a writing profile of me. It will then use that profile to determine whether or not the articles that I have written on Reddit were actually written by me. So that's the really scary thing about stylometry. Stylometry can be used to determine the actual author of articles, of anonymous articles. There's actually a video over here on YouTube. You can take a look at it. It's called Stylometry and Online Underground Markets. It's a very interesting speech. It only has about 1,007 views, which is kind of surprising because this is actually a very, very interesting lecture. You can watch it. It's very interesting. You learn more about stylometry. But I want to show you a different kind of, one of the kinds of stylometric systems. This one is known as signature. So it says here that signature can be used to compare the styles of Jane Austen and other novelists. It can also be used to examine the authorial signature of the plays written by or controversially attributed to Shakespeare. And even here it was used to determine whether or not Obama's book was written by an ex-terrorist, which is just, which is very, very, very funny. So that is one kind of stylometric system out there, signature. Now, due to this technology, due to this application, there are counters. There are different ways how people now try to prevent stylometry from determining that they were the ones who actually wrote certain kinds of articles. So one of them here is known as the Anonymouth, and it's a Java-based application that aims to give users the tools and knowledge needed to begin anonymizing documents they have written. So again, you can take a look at Anonymouth. It's a very, very interesting concept. But I want to show you something here known as Relang. This is an anti-stylometry tool. So it says, use this tool to mask your personally unique writing style in order to deceive authorship detection. So let's say, for example, I'm going to jump in here right now and I'm going to grab some text from one of my documents over here. Okay, let's grab all this stuff right here. Let's copy that. Let's jump over here to VLang. Let's go ahead and paste the text. Let's fill in the captcha. Let's submit. Oh, I'm sorry. On line 3, incorrect captcha entered. Oh, wow. I do apologize. I may have made a mistake with the captcha. Let's try that again. All right, 5XVT5. Okay, I hope I got this time. Submit. All right, there you go. So right now you can see this was the input and now this is the output. So basically what RealLang does is that it tries to rework any samples of text that you may have written and then basically just tries to make sure that you cannot be identified through the use of telemetric tools. So over here, I can see that it basically capitalizes many of the words which I did not capitalize in the previous document, in the original document. And I can't really see other things it's done, but it is something you can play around with. You can get very, very large pieces of text, maybe 1,000 words, 2,000 words, paste it in here, fill in the captcha, and then see the kinds of outputs that you get. So before I go, there is also a very interesting article. It's actually a hidden article on Wikipedia. And it's basically the anonymous writing style, where you have guidelines on how to write so as to ensure that stylometry would not be able to determine that you're the one who actually wrote an article. So you have the typographical style right here, dialectical style. You can see right here all the advice and guidelines on how to write anonymously. I'm going to provide you with the link. However, you're going to need to use Tor in order to open this particular link. If you open this link on a regular browser, it's not going to open. If you have Tor, fine, go ahead and open the link. If you don't have Tor, if you don't know what Tor is, don't worry. We'll talk about Tor later on in the course. So that's it for stylometry. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next class.